Yeah,
Was this
we do have members of the public in the audience. Just let everybody know too. I'm gonna record it for the minutes.
I thought this was the one Jane couldn't make for some reason, but
Yeah,
Maybe it
correct.
is.
So everybody is here. Jane did email me letting me know that she was traveling today and could not get on the meeting.
What about Janet?
Right there,
Janet is just
she's here.
joined us.
Oh,
Yeah.
Janet. Yes. Okay.
Hi, Janet.
Hello.
There you
I
are.
am. It's always easier than, harder than you think.
Sorry, you're hearing the echo from the YouTube. Okay, I'm happy to say we're live on YouTube right at 11:01. That must be like a new record. So,
Good. All right. So I'll call the meeting to order since we are as many as we are going to be. This is the Southborough Library Board of Trustees meeting, June 24, 2024. It's 11 a.m. and we're on Zoom, obviously. Okay, first order of business, approval of the minutes. May 20th. Anybody have any corrections? Okay.
I have a quick question. What is an escape room?
okay,
Should I know what that
how
is?
to begin that?
Where
So-
have you been, David?
I know,
Yes,
exactly.
he doesn't go to the
Don't you have
movie.
grandchildren?
I can
No,
make this
what is it?
easy, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mary, take it away, Mary.
So, David, there are
Yes.
varieties of escape rooms, but essentially what you do is you go into a room and you solve a series of puzzles, one leading to the other, that then allows you to escape the room in a certain amount of time.
It's
So
it's
it's
just
like
for
a
fun.
live action Clue.
You
Yeah.
go to a facility that provides these.
Yeah, we should all go to the one in Hudson and do a team building.
It's fun.
It is fun.
It's fun.
So like an
Yes.
example would be, there's like a clue when you enter, and then like, the answer to the clue is an author. And then so you go to that area on the bookshelf that the author is in, and then you find like your next clue. And then eventually, the idea is that you eventually get the key to leave the room, but I had some concerns about locking people in spaces in the library, which I've conveyed to the staff. So just to let you know, it's not a true escape room, because if people want to escape, they will have that option.
Even in
but
real escape rooms, there's cameras, and if you say I want out, you get out. I'm
yeah,
not
you
even
can
looking
give
for it.
up and then
My
you just
education
don't
has
solve the
obviously
puzzle.
been deficient in that regard.
Okay, so I have a question. How did that come up? Does everybody have a director's report that I don't have?
No, it's the minutes.
It's in the
Oh,
minutes
it's
because
in
we
the
talked
minutes.
about this last time. It's like
Mariana's
an upcoming
doing one.
program because it is scheduled now. It's going to take place at the end of July. So I will be able to tell you in August how it went.
Okay.
Hopefully
So-
people are around and go. They're fun. It would be a really good thing.
Yeah, it's Mariana and Kathy Kalenda's program. So it's
Awesome.
their brainchild.
Sounds fun.
Thank you, ladies.
And they do this a lot at other libraries. So we looked at their model and how to adapt it. So.
Okay, David. All right. Any other emendations or corrections to the minutes of May 20th? All right. Do I have a motion to accept?
Motion, we accept the minutes. as
Okay,
amended.
second?
I'll
Okay,
second.
second. Okay, and Mary, okay, so
Aye.
Landry, aye.
Yes, Donnie, aye.
Ekberg, aye.
Tinty, aye.
Maybe I.
All right, accepted as written. The minutes from May 28th, 2024. Do I have any emendations? All right, motion to accept as written.
Motion to accept as written.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Landry, aye.
Yes, Donnie, aye.
Ekberg, aye.
Tinty, aye.
Maybe I.
All right, good. Minutes from May 31st, 2024. Do I have any emendations? All right, motion to accept as written.
Go, Amy.
Motion to accept as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Janet. All right. All those in favor, Landry, aye.
Yes, Donnie, aye.
Ekberg, aye.
Tinty, aye.
Maybe I.
All right, and the minutes from June 3rd, 2024. Do I have any emendations? No? Okay, do I have a motion to accept as
I
written?
motion to accept as written.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay.
3 seconds.
All those in favor, Landry, aye.
Yes, Donnie, I.
Ekberg, aye.
Tinty eye.
Maybe I.
Thank you. All right, and thank you, Ryan, for getting those to us in draft. All right, the director's report. Ryan, take it away.
So some of these are also agenda items. So while I'm gonna kind of, I think, just dispense with the items that aren't separate agenda items. So it's the temperature and the garden are both separate things. So I'll just kind of talk, the budget is what we should really talk about, which I know is also a separate agenda item, but I always kind of cover it in directors. So you can see that most of the line items have been expended. I do need one of you to come in today and sign off on the payables. So if any of you are available this afternoon and want to stop by after the meeting, just to give me a signature, that would be helpful.
Again, Ryan, did you send these out?
Yes, did you not get it, Janet?
I did not get it.
Okay, let me,
When did they go out?
so the minutes went out. Did you get the minutes? No, you're shaking your head no? Okay. The minutes went out on Friday. The director's report and the supplemental materials went out on Saturday.
I went to town email.
Both. Yeah.
I send it,
Oh,
I
it's a
think
town meeting, a town email.
Yeah.
no,
And
it should have
our
gone, I
personal.
think it goes to
Usually
both.
mine
for
get
Janet.
forwarded.
Okay. I
Yep,
was
right.
worried, Janet, when you said that there was a director's report you hadn't gotten. I was worried about that then,
I
so,
get it. I've got it.
yeah. You got it?
I got it. It
Okay.
went to my town email, but it didn't get forwarded. Usually gets
Hmm.
forwarded.
I should have gone to both. I'm sorry. Sorry that you didn't get it in advance.
Okay, let me look. Looking at this budget now.
Yeah, so just budget. We've already started to get bills for next year, so I'm starting to collect those. We do not normally at this time of year, we need to talk about potentially authorizing the Mary Fay Fund for any outstanding book bills. That is definitely not necessary this year because I've actively been working with the acquisition staff on getting books and helping them wrap up because different people were out for different reasons this year. So I was a little bit more active, I would say, in year end. I'm always active in year end. That's what the staff will tell you. But I know I don't see any unanticipated bills. If there are, I can reach out to you in July. But I'm pretty confident that we've wrapped up, especially with Ingram. Ingram is always the problem because they lock books into a committed or processing status, and then we can't cancel them. That isn't the case this year. We're all caught up. I did have to work with the accounting team on bills from the end of March and the beginning of April that apparently Ingram never received the check for. Those have already been resolved at this point too. So we're all good. So budgetarily, we're doing really good, everybody, is what I can tell you. And we're ready to go into the new fiscal year. There will be a salary turn back. I can tell you, you can see there's an amount on the expense report this year, but that really is not including the final payroll for 4 days. So once that gets added in, the salary turn back is actually going to be less than it has been in prior years. So we were more on track with spending the salary money this year, even with sickness and staff being out. But a lot of that because we haven't had any people leave. So I think in every year we've had like a full-time staff member depart, or we've had a significant period where we're rehiring people. That I think we did hire new people last fall, but not we didn't have a significant absence of staff. So you can see that affects the salary line item, is that it's a little bit more what it's supposed to be.
Well, I'm sure I speak for all of us, Ryan, when I give you a quickie shout out here, but I think it is remarkable how well you manage to the budget. These things don't come out like this by accident. So hats off to you. Nice job.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you. It's also a testament to the staff because I don't, as many of you know, I don't buy the majority of books for the library. I kind of manage the staff members that do. So it really is, I think, the fact that they were able to kind of work together and achieve this has been good. And people did, I think it was good because in prior years, people have been more conservative about spending, especially till we get to the end of the year. And maybe it was because people knew they were going to be out, or people just were good about it this year. There were things we wanted and things people were asking for, and we did our best to provide those. So. Any questions on the budget or financial stuff before we move forward? Okay. Facilities, that stuff is pretty self-explanatory. I don't know if following the DPW visit, I know this is my report, but I guess I am looking for feedback from the board on whether or not you wanted me to follow up with Chris Leroy on the grounds walkthrough. I think one of the takeaways of that meeting was that maybe we could see if DPW could help with some of the invasive species that were in some of the bushes that was adjacent to the, garden beds that were outside. So I'm seeing some nods. So I plan to follow up with him on that piece, but I don't know that there was any other specific point you guys wanted me to follow up on.
Well, I
thought
think
they
he
were
was,
gonna
I'm sorry, go
clear
ahead.
out that area that was overgrown and had dangerous branches and stuff
Under
Okay.
the
at the
trees.
cemetery.
Okay. So the tree area.
Yeah, just like make it,
Yeah, what would that be? The northwest corner of the property, which was kind of a jungle and also had some trees which were partially healthy, but had some very significant dead limbs, and that would not exactly bounce off the collarbone of a 5-year-old who was wandering around over there. So I think that Chris Leroy is got this on his to-do list, but it wouldn't hurt to give him a friendly reminder that we'd like to see that area cleaned up a little bit.
I think he was looking for feedback from me on what the next steps would be.
Yep.
So I think it's a longer conversation, to be honest, about the trees themselves. But
Yeah.
I think the area underneath the trees is something that we can check in. And I plan to try to reach out to Bill Cundiff, who's our DPW superintendent. Part of the reason Chris was there is because Bill was on vacation that week, but also Chris has kind of been our contact. So I'm hoping I can talk to both of them and we can kind of get a better sense of, if there's additional manpower or a cost involved in looking at the trees themselves.
There's
Okay,
that
so-
smaller tree out in front that needs to be just taken out, right? It's diseased or something.
Yeah, I don't know, Janet. This is part of my, I have to better understand it. I don't know if DPW actually takes trees out themselves. I think that they do have to have a vendor come in to do it, but I might be mistaken. I'll find out more about the process so I can better advise you guys. That tree, I think, is the smaller one. Is that
Yeah.
correct? The one
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
thinking of? Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe if it's a smaller tree, it's less complicated. I don't know. And then, I do always like to say, if we take a tree out, can we look at potentially planting a new one? That's what we did in the front when we had those issues several years ago. So that might be, I know there's a cost involved with new trees too. So
Where's the tree that's not healthy?
it's towards the area that David identified. It's not in the overgrown area with all the trees. It's closer to the parking lot.
Is that the
I would
cherry
say so.
bush?
Yes. I think
Okay,
it's
yep,
sure.
that's,
It's
that
like 6
should,
or
yeah,
10
that's,
feet out from there.
that's not a
I
happy.
I don't
camper.
think the town owns a bucket truck with a crane. So the things that we observed during that walk around, the dead limbs were pretty high up off the ground. So I think the answer is that, I guess it comes out of his budget. Is it something that is a priority for them or not? Who knows? But I think a friendly reminder to him wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, I'll try to get feedback on time frame too, because I know that we are going to be kind of dependent on their schedule to a certain extent, is what I can share with you now. But
Mhm.
I will, especially if we're worried about a safety concern, maybe that will help to expedite things.
Right. It was my understanding, talking to Chris, that they're really busy in the summer, and it might be something that they do a bit of at a time.
Yeah,
Didn't they
I
talk
would,
to-
I would agree.
Didn't he say something about there's a specific time that they do pruning? And if we do
I
it,
think so, Janet.
do it, and
I'm
if
recalling
some
that
other
as well.
time, it's, yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, thank
think
you,
it's
Ryan. I mean,
small.
it definitely needs attention back there for sure. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, other items on the director's report.
So there were just sort of quick programming updates. Even the Friends update was a programming update. I know several members of the board did attend the Friends annual meeting. It was actually a really fun night. I know the people who couldn't be there, there were reasons why you couldn't be there, but I think it ended up being a good event. It was nice to have the author as part of that. And then just because I know I mentioned this briefly on June 3rd, but we are officially submitted for the construction grant. So they did find 4 very tiny mistakes in the initial application review, and I was able to correct those all within an hour. 2 of them were from the financial documents we got from the finance director, who when I emailed him, he got me the information back within 10 minutes. So that really made a difference in getting that done. There will be a site visit on July 23rd, I believe is the date. And board members are welcome to come. I would say if all of you come, we might, I think we have to post as a meeting. So we may want to talk about it. The July meeting may occur before this. And I don't know if people are going to be traveling or they're going to be away, but really they've requested to meet with John and I, John Parent, the facilities director. So John is going to be available that day and do the walkthrough with me. Part of what we're doing is reviewing the secondary site option. So we're going to go over to, the transfer station area, which is where the secondary site was identified. But most of it, I think, will be at the existing library facility. We're just going to
Well,
look
that's the
at the-
23rd. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's a Tuesday, if I'm recalling correct.
Yep, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's in the morning. I think it's at 11, but I'll double check all that information. That's with Andrea, who is the MBLC construction specialist who we've been working with. It may be with Heather Bachman too, who's the new construction specialist, who's the former director of Hopkinton. So I used to work with her in her role there. And yeah, it's good. It's good they're coming. That means that I think they did a secondary review of the application and now they want to look at the site. So that's part of the next step. So
Excellent.
positive.
Bottom line on, it says MPLCP grant was submitted on March 31st.
I'm sorry, that's an error in the director's
That's
report.
what I
It
thought,
should be
yeah.
May
May
31st.
Yep, okay.
That's
Just
what I get trying to
for the record.
finalize Saturday before we close. Yeah.
Listen, you did a great job on that, Ryan. It
You
was
did, thank you.
huge and amazing, right? Yes. Okay, any other comments on the director's report? Expense report, fine. The temperature in the library, item 4.
Okay. Many of you, so yeah, some of you are smiling because you've been here. So this is not new. During the heat wave, the temperature in the children's room was significantly colder. Kim's office, the assistant director's office downstairs adjacent to the children's room, was at 62 degrees on the thermostat. I looked into checking out the occupational safety and health, right? The OSHA standards on this. So there is actually a maximum temperature for heat when I have to dismiss staff. There, it turns out, is not one for the cold temperatures. We've reported this to facilities. Facilities did respond and come here a number of days to look into this. They had facility staff themselves come, then they had the HVAC vendor come. We were actively looking at whether or not we could just turn the vents off in the office because that's how cold it was. I still have not followed up directly with John on a result of what has happened. I do know that during Saturday, John thought that the library was closed on Saturdays already, so the HVAC system did not automatically come on. So I was here Saturday. I let him know this. He was able to turn it on. So that made the temperature downstairs a lot more manageable for the staff, but it did make upstairs a little warmer, is what I can tell you when we open. The same thing happened today. I think the HVAC was just scheduled to go on later in the day. And when I got here in the morning, I let him know, and then he looked into it and turned it on. So the temperature right now is very manageable downstairs. I did not get a chance to look at the thermostat, but I checked in with the staff. So I don't even know that I'm looking for any feedback on this. The temperature is an issue. So I want to make you aware of this, I guess, and that we need to try to resolve this because I'm getting complaints now from patrons who are coming in about how cold the downstairs is. And we are grateful that we have working air conditioning. We wouldn't be able to open if we didn't. But also, I think the air conditioning is going to have to be regulated because if it's this cold that people are complaining, I'm also worried about staff getting sick long term.
Yeah.
That's more my concern. So I guess that's what I wanted to let you know. And then to also say, I may have to reach out at one point if the temperature drops to 60 or below. I think we're at the stage now where I might have to either close the children's room or dismiss staff and close the building.
What happens when
So
you
we can
open the
fix that.
windows?
Well,
So
it's
we've
also
been directed
incredibly
by
wasteful.
facilities. Sorry, Janet, I didn't mean to cut you
Yeah.
off.
No, I would say it's also incredibly wasteful. To be
So
building for that.
John has told me that we are not supposed to open the windows because that will actually trigger the HVAC to kick in higher, because then it's trying to essentially work to manage the heat that's happening outside as well.
Charming older building, right? I think John's been wrestling with this for 10 years, easily.
Well, we remember we did a complete redo of the HVAC system several years ago, where I think we were supposed to have more managed control of the
Yeah.
temperatures in individual spaces. So there's thermostats and they have arrow keys, but when we press them, they don't do anything.
Yeah.
The temperature will go up 1%, 0.5%, and then it reverts. So like less than a minute later to the. So I'm just making you aware of this issue. It's something that I wanted to put in my report. I'd like to probably add something about this next month so I can tell you whether or not it's getting resolved. But I want to make you aware because patrons are complaining and staff are complaining every day to me. So I'm trying to work on this. I don't know other than trying to communicate with facilities and make them aware of this. I mean, they're getting emails from us every day, so I'm sure they're sick of hearing from us, but I also can't have staff working in a 62-degree office. It's too cold. The blankets we got as holiday gifts, the spare ones we have, we're now giving, I'm not kidding, we're giving the staff who are working downstairs who are already in sweaters in the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
So I know it sounds dramatic, but that is what's happening. So
Ryan, I know that the facilities guys were up on the roof messing around with the is it a condenser? Is that the right word? Did that make
yeah,
any
it's
difference?
the HVAC system. Yeah. So there's a condenser as part of that. It's on the roof. Yeah.
But whatever they did that help the situation at all?
I can't tell you because the HVAC system wasn't on at the same time Saturday or Monday. I can tell you that they were here. They had the vendor come out for a significant amount of time on Thursday. So I don't know what the result of that was at this point.
Who's
But
the
we're
vendor?
looking into it. It just, this was, I mean, this is every year. It just, it hasn't dipped to 62 before. So that's a new. But it was also so hot outside that I think that has a direct bearing on how the system operates. So that is, I'm just letting you know that, again, that the staff are giving me feedback.
It, it was supposed to be zones, but that didn't work. It's almost a case for ductless splits the next time around, folks, instead of the central. Anyway, okay, any other comments on the temperature in the library besides needs help? Okay, Next item is the library's native plant garden. Where we
Yes.
are, okay, go ahead, Ryan, take
No,
it
you
away.
can go ahead, Margaret. It's okay.
All right, well, at our last meeting, we did a walkthrough of the plant garden, and there was some discussion. I think that everyone's agreed it's great to keep the plant garden, but I think part of the way to move forward is that the library would take it over and that library employees would run the volunteers. Your thoughts?
Well, I just want to say we never were considering getting rid of the pollinator garden. That meeting was purely for surveying the grounds and seeing what needed to be done. We try to do that once a year, but it doesn't always happen. And we needed to talk about the tree limbs and everything else. And apparently lies were put out that we were going to get rid of it, which we were not. There was no truth to that. It wasn't discussed. So at this point, I agree with Marguerite that the library will just take over care of it. And we will put out honest communications about what's going on.
So in my director's report, I kind of outlined an initial meeting I've had with some of the full-time staff on taking over some of the functions, in particular trying to kind of establish a volunteer force, which I think has been an outcome of the Gardens That Work program series. But unfortunately, just that volunteer force has not materialized. We are going to initially focus on youth volunteers first, only because we have been inundated over the last 6 months with younger people who are looking to get service hours and fulfill service requirements. Now, that said, we don't want people just going into a garden space and yanking plants out, right? There needs to be some sort of education and knowledge sharing about how to maintain a garden space. So one of the things that the staff and I are going to do is start to educate ourselves. And I mean, I've learned a lot over the past few years, but I think there's also more for me to learn as well. So, but everybody is kind of, I would say, enthusiastic about making sure that the garden continues at the library and is willing to spend time to maintain it. I have not reached out to part-time staff. I've only had a chance to meet with some of the full-time staff who I thought might be interested. I think there's additional part-time staff who would want to aid in this. So I think that we have a fair amount of interest on the staff side in trying to maintain the garden. I also think when this was established 3 years ago, the idea was to try to get to a place where the garden could become more of a self-sustaining entity. So I think that's a good outcome of looking at the future of the garden now, is kind of having the library be involved. But I think the ultimate aim is, obviously we want to have it have maintenance and care, but I'm also hoping that the garden itself is a self-sustaining entity.
Yeah, we have
I would just
pollinator gardens in our yard, and they, once they get going, they go well by themselves. So sorry,
Well,
David, go ahead.
go ahead, David.
I would just underscore the fact that what's important here is, and Ryan's been a good scout about this for a long time, is that this is not part of Ryan's job description, nor should it be. So the idea is to the extent this has become a time trap for him, a source for frustration and a source for something that needs refereeing, that we take this off of his duty list and do what we just discussed. Have some inside people on a freestanding basis running it, being responsible for it, taking care of it, so that Ryan doesn't have to spend an ungodly amount of time doing stuff which it takes him away from his primary responsibilities. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Janet?
I don't see that this would necessarily end up being less of his time, but but it would be different. And I think it's a great idea to involve the staff in it because, it's library grounds and they can take more charge of things.
I do also think that while initially the focus wouldn't be on involving adult volunteers, I think we would definitely try to find opportunities to do that.
Yeah. I will also say that although the gardens can be largely self-managing, they don't need to be watered frequently and all that, they do need to be managed. I mean, some plants get more of a feeling of ownership for the entire space than they are entitled to. And so, you know, there is expertise involved and some effort involved. But I think it's a good approach. I
Okay,
certainly
thank
like the idea of keeping the garden.
Absolutely. Mary,
Yeah, I was just going to chime in and say, as a budding environmentalist who is trying to raise an environmentalist, I am pro pollinator garden, I'm pro climate, and I think it has been a lovely addition to the outdoor space at the library. I just want to underscore again that at no point in any of our board meeting discussions was the elimination of this garden something that was on the table. Not sure where that came from, and that's not important, but I do think what is important is that factual, truthful information is what goes on the record. And so in this instance, again, the pollinator garden is a value add to the library. I think that we are interested in keeping it, not expanding it at the moment, and that the perhaps most feasible way to keep it thriving and keep Ryan's responsibilities focused on the larger library mission, of which this is one very small but important part, would be to do what has been suggested here and sort of have the library regroup, staff take it over, and see what happens as a result of I know the many volunteers that Mariana is trying to court as well. So I would be in favor of all of that. And there you have it.
Thanks,
all
Mary.
right,
I think maybe some of the confusion was that, I mean, there was confusing information about the idea of expanding the garden. I feel like a lot of effort has been in trying to organize and manage the existing garden. And I think that that's what I'm interested in working with the staff to develop a plan for. I would echo that I think it's just the idea of doing more to me is a little bit too daunting at this point. And I just don't, I think we need to get the area under control that's there now. Not to say that it's not looking great. I mean, it really is right now. And I think the Open Space Preservation Commission has done a great job and has helped to maintain that over the last few years. I think the idea is that hopefully they can move on and go to other projects and establish other gardens at other areas. So that's my hope. And then hopefully the library will do a good job. I'm confident. So
good. I'd like to know what the trustees think about requiring Corey checks for adult volunteers who work at the pollinator garden.
I think there should be Cory checks for any volunteers working on our property. They do it at the schools, they do it in Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and any place you volunteer. I just think it's important.
What's
Is there an age cutoff on that, Amy? I mean, is it,
Sorry, you have to be 18.
okay,
yeah, and sometimes, sorry, Janet, I just want to say, because sometimes people say Corey's check singular. We actually do 2 checks on prospective employees and volunteers who work inside the building right now. So we do a Corey check, which is a criminal offender records information, and we do a SORI, which is the sexual offender records information. So we do both. It is 2 separate systems. So I am able to run those checks myself, and I have done it in the past for both prospective staff members, so people who are finalists in jobs. We do that as a part of the vetting. And then it's also for volunteers right now that work inside the building, only because I don't actively deal with any volunteers that work outside the building currently.
well, I'm
We
certainly in
will.
favor of it.
But we will, if Mariana is going to recruit volunteers, we will be. Now, some of them will be younger, but I still think it's prudent to do so that we have done it.
Yeah,
Amen.
we don't do it on youth volunteers under the age of 18. But when they do reach the age of 18, even if they are in high school, we should run the check, even though it's unlikely that an 18-year-old would have a Corey or Sori positive result. So
we probably don't currently do that for the gardeners that handle the parts of the gardens out in front of the library.
correct, because they are not considered volunteers. But I could talk
Parsing
to
that
the
a little
gardeners.
fine.
Yeah, I could talk to the gardeners about this if the board would like me to. I mean, generally, people working on the property, I don't think it's a bad idea. But I know if we end up going in the direction we'd like, where we're involving youth volunteers with the native plant garden, I think it's prudent for us to look at doing Corey and Sori checks on adult volunteers that be directly working with those youth volunteers. I'm not familiar with any people under the age of 18 aiding in any of the gardeners.
No.
So, and I don't know that there is sort of, I mean, maybe we should ask Jane about that. She would have more familiarity with it in the next meeting, because this doesn't have to be the only discussion on that topic, you know. But we do have the last volunteer that we have who comes on sort of a semi-regular basis is a resident who works in the children's room, and I can tell you I ran a Corey and Sori check on her before she started volunteering. She's been here almost 2 years now. So that's the last regular interior volunteer we've had that I've done it with.
Well, I think it's our responsibility, so I think it's a good thing to do, just to make sure. All right, now do we need to take a vote on moving the pollinator garden into the library's bailiwick, or what?
That's a Ryan decision, isn't it?
It is, Ryan. What's your
It's
decision?
not, it's not me. You
Okay.
guys are able to
Want us to
vote
vote?
or not vote on whatever you'd like. So if the board wants to make a motion and then you guys want to do a roll call vote, that's your prerogative. Sorry, I can't be. I'm
We're-
happy.
We're
I'm
in charge of
like
the grant.
I like
All
to
right.
West Wing it, everyone. I always say I serve at the pleasure of the Board of Trustees. So it's up
Aw.
to you what you guys would like to move forward. I know sometimes if you're asking me if you have to vote, I don't know that the answer is yes, but if you would like to vote and affirm a decision, I don't always think that that's a bad idea. So
I would like to vote and affirm a decision. Who would like to formulate the motion? I'm looking at David here, but maybe I'm putting you on the spot.
No, if you need a motion, I move that we that we adopt a policy of having Corey investigations done on all volunteers 18 and older. Did I say that right? Is that the cutoff?
Yes. All right, and I was thinking even wider, but we can vote on that first. Let's vote on that first. A roll call vote, Landry. Oh, do I have a second? Sorry.
I
Do I have a
second.
second? All right, Amy has seconded. A roll call vote. All those in favor, Landry, aye.
Yes, Donnie, I.
Ekberg, aye.
Tinty, aye.
Maybe
All right, and I think the motion passes. Now, the next issue is that the library be responsible for the upkeep of the native pollinator garden. Do I have someone make a motion on that?
so moved.
Do I
Second,
have a second?
second.
Well done. All right. All those in favor, Landry, aye.
Yes, Donnie, I.
Ekberg, aye.
Tinty, aye.
Maybe
All right. Thank you, everyone. I think that's it. Do we have any more discussion on the pollinator garden?
The only thing I'll say just in sort of reaction to David's motion is I will come to you for the July meeting and I will have a draft of a written policy for you to review on volunteers. And
Yeah.
it will specifically state Corey from David's motion, but I would recommend that the board, I may add language or have language that could be added in to include SORI checks as well. So I want to let you know, you guys, now that you want to adopt a policy, you need me to draft you one. So I will do that as part of my role for the next meeting. Okay.
Okay,
Definitely,
good.
Corey, sorry. I mean, that's what all the other groups do, so we should be in line with what everybody else is doing.
Agreed. The other thing is, do you want to run it by Jay Tallerman? Or is it possible that another town already has a policy written that you could adopt the language?
Yeah, so the Massachusetts library system has a policy index on their website where you can go and you can look. I believe there is a section on volunteer, sort of like volunteer policies, volunteers at the library. So I'll kind of look at example policies, and a lot of those have already been reviewed by their respective legal counsels, but I'm happy to run this by town council as well and see if Mr. Tellerman has any feedback. So, and again, if there's open office hours every month, so I can try to do that. I may send it to him in advance, but if a trustee wants to come with me to the office hours, I can let you know next time those happen.
Okay,
While you're
trustees, is that
checking-
okay?
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead, Janet.
While you're checking with legal counsel and with other libraries, I wonder whether you should think of this applying to the friends and to the trustees. I'm thinking like when we volunteer at the book sales or something. Otherwise it's, or in the future, it might be volunteering at the garden, which I've been doing. But I think we should just cover our bases.
No, so I would say that when volunteers are at the book sale, they are working directly with children because we have youth who also assist in our having volunteer service hours at the book sale. So Janet, that's a good point, is that this isn't based on one specific situation. I think it's anytime you have volunteers who are going to be volunteering, and even friends members who maybe have been doing this for many years should also be subject to the check as well, because this is a new policy that the trustees are going to enact and they're subject to that. So,
and I think it's a thing where you err on the side of caution.
Yep.
well, I'm happy to report that anytime we've run a Corey or a SORI check on any individual, it's come back, negative. Like there is no criminal record or sexual offender record that has come back. So I'm probably kind of shooting myself in the foot right now a little bit, because I know that hasn't always been the case with hiring in other departments, but for us, we have and it's the same with volunteers. So I'm not anticipating any problems, but if there is, I mean, the other thing the policy will have to address is if these checks come back and there is a record, I don't think that person should volunteer.
Right. I think anybody who's had kids go through the school systems or worked in the churches, whatever, has been through this. What used to be every 3 years. I don't know if it's still
Boy Scouts,
over
Girl
and
Scouts.
over and over and over. So
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good safety measure. There it is. All right, if we're good on that, can we move on to more than books lending agreements for the telescope and the projector, and there was one other thing. The projector, the telescope, and the telescope. Okay. Ryan, do you want to explain?
Sure. I just want to address, for anybody who has a raised hand, there's going to be a public comment section at the end of the meeting. So we can take comments then. I'm going to try to get through the rest of the agenda very quickly. So I'm hoping that you won't have to wait very long. Okay. So going to the lending agreements, those are sort of a carryover from several months ago. I'm sorry, because of the construction grant, this took a pretty significant amount of time for us to get back to, right? So Mary, I don't know if this was on your radar at all.
It was. I remember I was at the meeting where this was discussed, so I'm all up to speed. Yep.
Yeah, so I am happy to say that in the projector agreement, we have revised it so that it doesn't say telescope. Everybody, I think all of the members of the board caught that one because we were doing some copying and pasting. We did look at, one of the things we did was look at the age. I think the 18 plus was there twice. And part of that is we want to have a age threshold because of the replacement cost, because it's so high. And then just, if the young person wants to use one of these items, they just have to have a parent or guardian be the responsible party. So to me, I'm happy with these now. I wanted to have the board take a look at them. The telescope one is a revised version, but it's very similar to how it was. And then the projector agreement is new. So that is very similar. So if you guys want to move forward with those, or if you have any additional feedback, I guess let me know.
Thoughts, trustees?
They look good. to-
I had one, Ryan. What if the projector or the telescope is returned and it's not broken, but some of the peripherals are missing?
Yeah, so we actually have already dealt with this. So the light, there's like a light that I think the strap broke, like it snapped or something. So the light itself still functions, but the strap on the headband is broken. So it's mainly for kids if they're outside, which is funny because like you still need an adult to check out the telescope and really
Right.
physically move the telescope. It's so big, but there is like sort of a lighting thing that an adult or a kid could use. It's more popular with kids, is what I can tell you. So we didn't charge the patron for that. We typically don't charge them if like it comes back and batteries aren't used. We did have a patron, actually a very kind man, looked at I guess the telescope it was not broken, but it was, after being checked out so many times, it was, I want to say, beat up, if I can say that. Like it was a little bit in disarray, and a patron did kind of go through it step by step and try his best to kind of shore it up. If that I don't know why I'm making it sound like a ship, but that was kind of, it came back a lot better than the way it went out. When peripherals are broken on the telescope, we do see if the Friends would fund a potential replacement. So I think there's going to be a request coming for like a new strap. I think there was like a similar thing that a staff member found at Ocean State Job Lot. So we're going to see if they could buy that, and then we could replace the strap with that. So it's not going to be very expensive. I would say the replacement cost triggers when the item cannot be used at all anymore. So like when the telescope can't function as a telescope anymore, that's when we'd have to charge a replacement cost.
Okay, sounds good. A lot of thought. Other thoughts? Anyone? No? Do you need us to vote on accepting these, or just sense of the meeting is they're fine?
I don't think it's a bad idea. They're going to end up living on the policies page. We'll
Right.
add an addendum at the bottom that said it's approved by the Board of Trustees. And then that helps me if people are upset about having to pay $400 to replace something.
Has that happened ever?
No, it has not.
So I motion we accept these as written.
I second the motion.
All right, all those in favor, Landry, aye.
Yes, Donnie, I.
Ekberg, aye.
Tinty, aye.
Maybe I.
All right, and so the motion passes. Ryan, please thank everyone who worked on these. I know they were a pain in the neck, and it's good to have them added to our policy book. So
Thank
there
you.
we are. All right, now item number 7 on the agenda is the 5-year strategic plan. Didn't we just do one of these? Okay.
Well, so this is going to be longer for future meetings, just to
Okay.
let you know. So we are at the end of as we go into a new fiscal year, we actually need to revise, create a new, like update our plan. So we've actually done a fair amount of public input for the building program, and some of that information can be integrated, but we don't make our strategic plan building specific, right? The building has always been a part of previous strategic plans, but we also look for maybe some collection data as well as some programming feedback in particular. So what I'd like to do, just as kind of next steps, is draft a survey that is not related to the building. It's more of a, you know, collections and programs survey. So it might have that kind of umbrella, if that makes sense. And then we will initiate that at some point, maybe in August or September, and start getting, really, we need to do it soon. So I need to get the questions out actually earlier than that. The survey, you'll get drafts of questions in July. I would just say I'm open to feedback from board members. So if you would like to, if there's certain things that you think would be useful data points, it's useful for me to know what you think is useful. Does that make sense?
I have a quick question, Ryan,
Yeah.
just because I'm in favor of collecting all of the information you need always. It does seem though in town lately, between our building project and the stuff going around with the schools and the tricentennial celebrations, there are a lot of surveys that have just come through.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, do you really not have the information you need yet? Because I want to make sure that this isn't just going to get skipped because people are saturated with surveys.
Yeah, so that's a really good point, Mary, and your point is well taken. I will say we've unfortunately had a better response from doing public input surveys than we have from in-person sessions. And I think you were one of the hosts on the Friends side of one of the virtual forums. We did virtual building forum. Well, you did an in-person building forum. And then I know we tried to do a virtual one, which had less attendance at the virtual one, which I thought was interesting. In the past, I have done and worked with MLS staff to facilitate strategic planning sessions. So maybe we'll do that. That is easier actually than a survey because
I'm just wondering if you already have the information you need and you
So
just need help culling it.
Yeah, so that's a good point. For this updated strategic plan, we need to do it again. The idea is to get updated feedback as we file a new plan. I'm not able to use like data that is from several years ago on a new.
No, did
I
we
mean,
just
from
do it
this
with the
year.
building? Yeah, we did one this year. I
Yeah.
agree, Mary.
Yes, I need to do something. I need to do a strategic planning specific like outcome thing where I'm getting some sort of public feedback. But you're right. There are a lot of surveys. There have been a lot of surveys. There will be a lot of surveys, I think, right? Is that fair? So I will say we're not inundating the public with a lot of adult public like forum type events, or I think we call it a strategic planning forum. That's what we've done in the past. And I've paired those, like I've done a strategic planning session and I've done a survey. So I think maybe this year, especially since we did the building survey and there was so much data for so long, is maybe I'll just do the event. You're helping me refine
Good.
my because
I want you to get what you need, and I know you need 2024 statistics, but I just and this is nothing you don't know, but I really wonder the kind of response that you're going to get because people are going to be like, I just filled this out a month ago.
Yeah, fair.
I would think it was the same thing kind of if I got it again, like they're just sending it out again.
We need to file it by the end of October too. So it's work for me because we have to kind of do it. How we kind of looked at previous years was we used the same basic format of the previous strategic plans. And then we kind of looked at the public input data and we kind of just structured it so that there were outcome stuff. To be honest, I think the in-person meeting is a lot more engaging. We tend to have people who open up and talk a lot about ideas they have for the library. And to be in the library space, it might be better to have, that might just be a better vehicle for feedback. So let's do that.
2 things. Can you do that? Can you do that, the one in-person meeting? And what's the date of when we get to know about the building grant?
It'll be after there's a draft of the new strategic plan. I can tell you that. So we are going to put as a goal for the next 5 years is expanding the library. So I can already tell you one of the goals of the strategic plan because we got feedback from the building survey that people wanted. And you are right, actually, Mary. Going back to the building survey, there were questions on more than books, and there was a lot of narrative elements that you can kind of see feedback from on like study areas was the thing that came up. So those were part of the building. And those,
Programs.
yeah. So maybe I'm thinking of it as building specific data, but people did give all kinds of feedback in the open-ended area. So you
Yeah.
are correct, is that maybe a second survey is too many survey, too much
You
survey.
might, this is nothing you don't know, but I feel like Sam Stiver's recaps might be a great resource for you to just eliminate whether you think you have enough information or need to move forward. Because I feel like his recaps of especially the in-person stuff gave a lot of great non-building related feedback.
Yeah, we do like an exercise in strategic planning where we call it like there's either the SOAR, the strengths, opportunities,
Yeah.
aspirations, and results, or we've done the start, stop, continue, which is something I learned from Russ Mulholland, who's an old friend of the library. But I always found Russ's thing where it's what do you start doing that you're not doing now? What do you stop doing that you're doing now that's not working? And what do you continue doing that's successful? And that's always a great way to end, I think, the session. So maybe we'll do, I think MLS Advise is doing 2 of those. So maybe we'll have MLS come and do one and then I can do the other one. I think that's what we've done in the past.
And I'll just say one final thing about this, which because I know from the Friends perspective, the Friends are always trying to figure out ways to get more people involved. And perhaps there's an opportunity here to do this on an evening of a Friends meeting or something like that, where at least the Friends themselves are attending and maybe bringing a few friends to brainstorm. So just a thought.
Yeah, I would
Sounds
like
good.
to have the friends involved as much as possible. So that's a good point.
For some reason, what floated into my head is the comment, "Why aren't you open on Sunday?" Which I think has
That'll come up.
showed up in every survey since time began from the library. Why aren't you open on Sunday? Anyway,
Our hours come up in strategic planning sessions a lot.
all the time.
And then
yeah.
that is really where parking, that was why we asked about parking in the last survey and then got interesting data. But parking, when we do these in-person sessions, repeatedly comes up. It's like a big issue for people when we get 20 to 30 people together. And I know some of the trustees, especially Marguerite, has attended some of those in-person meetings. And it is like you start to hear a cacophony. Like it's like, I couldn't park at the library this night. Oh, I was at the food trucks. I couldn't park. And then it's just like you get all of these.
Same thing. Yeah. Well, there it is. All right. Any other comments on the 5-year strategic plan? We can move into item number 8, which is the employment contract for the library director. Ryan, can you explain the shift that this would involve?
Yes. So this is because under Mass General Law, the library director can request a contract. So this sounds very dramatic. And maybe at reading this, it sounds like I'm unhappy or something. I'm not. I'm kind of thinking about my long-term future with the library. I've been here 10 years, as you all know, right? And I'm just thinking about more of my future moving forward. So a lot of the department heads have contracts. I'm one of the higher tier department heads that don't. So a benefit is I negotiate my contract directly with the Board of Trustees, which I'm able to do because you're an elected entity. It would effectively remove me as an SAP employee, which the SAP is the Salary Administration Plan. So I'm just exploring this. I wanted to let you know that I'm looking into this and I'm hoping to come back to you at a later date with more information and a more, I guess, a proposal to do it. I know that there's a lot of different people that you can speak to about this. Our labor council for the town is, her name is Kate Federoff. She's somebody that I can put the board in touch with, or we can invite her to a future meeting to come and talk about this. I've also talked with the town administrator and assistant town administrator. They don't think it's a bad idea for me to have this discussion with you, no matter what the outcome is, and just see kind of where we're at. But a lot of the department heads do get essentially what's in the SAP. That's what I'm kind of learning. And then there's maybe things about attending professional conferences, like a commitment for me to do that, that we could add to the contract, for example. And I was asked why I even had this idea. And I learned from a woman named Kimberly, who I was flying back with from Ohio when I went to PLA, that she just negotiated an employment contract at a library in Rhode Island. And she put that they allow and financially support her to go to conferences in her contract. So that might be something we talk about. I don't know if it's something we'll end up doing. I like the supporting the time, maybe not the financial aspect, but I think that's all something that can be negotiated, right? As an example. So I just wanted to broach that. I wanted to let you know that I've been looking into it. And I plan to continue if the board is amenable.
Well, I will just say, Ryan, as I've said to you in person, that I think it's entirely appropriate. And I think you're talking to people here who will understand that it's it's worthwhile on both sides. And so I, for one, are supportive of your taking the initiative. And I think I speak for all of us, where we will be very happy to negotiate in good faith and just eliminate whatever uncertainties there may be out there.
I agree. I think it's a good idea. I also think that it's something the town should probably look at more broadly, because they're losing department heads and it's hard to maintain a good, efficient town government with that kind of situation. So,
Yep. Other thoughts? No. Well, I support investigating, Ryan, and please keep us posted. I think it's a good idea to look at. All right.
Thank you.
If there are no other comments on that, item 9 is public comment, and I think, let's see, attendees, we have Freddie Gillespie, Joyce Greenleaf, Emily and Kate, GKL, GP iPhone, MJ, Raquel Morales, Sam Stivers, and Sarah. And I see Freddie and Joyce both have their hands up, and I don't know who was first.
I've been keeping track. Freddie was first. Lisa Brasio was in the attendees previously. She had her hands raised.
Yeah.
So she's not there anymore. So Freddie would be next.
All right, and then Joyce. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna turn your mic on, Freddie.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to share. I'm Freddie Gillespie, Chair of the Open Space Preservation Commission. And I want to start out by saying a big thank you to the library for the visionary action that was taken by the director, Ryan, to seek funds and allow us to put the garden on the library grounds. And he provided, through that grant, he received the seed funding for it. I will say that the Open Space Preservation Commission and our volunteers contributed much resources, funds from our own budget to supplement the original planting and the ongoing. I wanted to also thank Brian specifically, but also Janet Maney, who has been our liaison and has been a wonderful resource and a great friend to the garden. And it was a great community resource, and I'm very pleased to hear that the library wants to maintain it and continue on with it, and that you will be taking over the care of it. And I am always here to play a role as a resource if you have questions. This was not just a pollinator garden, it was a specific pollination preservation following the research of Dr. Robert G. Geer. We have had success in attracting at-risk species heading towards extinction. It was very exciting when Bombus vagan showed up last year. This has been touted across not just Southborough, but the region and the state as a wonderful example of what can be done and how libraries can be very helpful in this. And this garden is actually a guidepost for other libraries putting in these types of gardens. At our garden tour yesterday, a librarian from Concord was there specifically to see how we're doing it because they started out based on our experience here moving forward with their own gardens at the Concord, West Concord Library. I want to say there was never an attempt to enlarge the garden. We were only talking about cleaning out the area under the wooded trees. And when all those invasives and the deadly wood limbs were removed, replacing with some appropriate shrubs, native shrubs. You wouldn't want just a mulched area, putting in some native shrubs and maybe a few spring ephemerals that is self-containing. It wouldn't be anything like a garden maintenance. But now that the library has moved forward with that, I do hope you will consider putting in native shrubs when you clean it out so that you don't get more invasives, and also to be in line with what the town's master plan requirement is for all native species on all town-owned property is a goal we're moving towards, not just from the master plan, it's in the municipal vulnerability plan. You certainly be looking at that when you do the new library under your site plans. So it was just trying to clean an area up that hadn't been taken care of. And now that the library is engaged in it, it sounds wonderful. The work's going to get done, but we were never trying to expand the garden. I don't know where that information came from, just that we were trying to clean up. I would also suggest when you have DPW come, we had a garden tour there yesterday. The grounds are actually dangerous to invite people on. There's big holes. We actually put flags up to keep people from tripping. I know I twisted my ankle and numerous other volunteers. I think Janet can attest to it. So where you see those red flags, that's a danger zone. There's big divots where we put pylons and we put cones in so people wouldn't step there. There's also some sharp tree stumps where somebody could actually be impaled if a kid tripped and fell. We put a table over it so no one could get hurt. So if you walk there where they did the excavation for the historical graves search, that was never restored properly. It's like it's really walking through a danger zone when you go there. And I would think twice about having any public events there until that's repaired. I didn't realize how bad it was until we went there yesterday and tried to set up. But aside from that, I'm going to say I'm really happy that the library is going to take over the management of it. I have a couple more statements to say. And I want to say that there was never an intent to spread false information. And unfortunately, the meeting I attended, the public meeting that wasn't recorded, was and I'm trying to make this a positive statement, but that meeting was hostile and very concerning for myself and another member of the public who attended. And the takeaway, whether it's what you intended to say, the takeaway was that you wanted to remove the garden. And I heard that. I don't need to, if it wasn't your intent, that was our takeaway. It wasn't what, you talked about moving it over to Heritage Park. No one had these conversations with the Open Space Commission. And it would have been nice if this conversation could have happened before it's in a public meeting where we're being told that you're moving on. That would have been nice. And, but aside from that, I would say that I hope when things calm down, become a little bit less heated after this unfortunate recent exchange, that we can work together in the future. I would be very happy if you're managing the new garden without taking an ownership or leadership role. If you need a resource, I would be happy to provide that. People from across the state reach out to me for guidance on how to manage these pollinator gardens. I've worked with libraries, towns, City of Newton, Acton Boxborough's high school is putting one in. I've worked with other library groups. So I'm happy to share that expertise I have without any expectation of ownership or leadership role in it at all. And I wanted to end with a big thank you. Sometimes when you collaborate, things get heated, they get messy. And but the overall experience should be recalled as one that was wonderful. We had wonderful programs. We had a lot of great volunteer opportunities there. And I think if you reach out, you will find out that many people have fond memories of working at the Pollination Preservation Garden at the library. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Freddie. Ryan, do you want to bring over Joyce? She has her hand up.
Yeah.
Thank you. Joyce Greenleaf for North Street. And thank you, Ryan, for your support of the garden and also to the trustees for finding a path forward. I hope that you all take pride in knowing how successful our tour in that our tour yesterday and how successful that garden has been. It has been a resource and an inspiration for Native gardens in Concord, Westboro, and Natick. And that's got to be a good feeling for all of you. And as someone who's volunteered there since its inception, it's certainly something I feel good about as well. As for the misinformation, I would just say, I did hear talk of moving the garden. I did hear talk of being unhappy with the gardening programs. So I think that is where that comes from, but I'm very pleased to hear the support and a plan to move forward, and also happy to be a volunteer to help to the extent that that's of interest. So thank you to the trustees, and thank you, big shout out for Ryan too.
Thank you, Joyce. Anyone else want to speak? No, I don't see any hands. Oh, all right. So with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to, oh, any other business that shall properly come before the board? No. All right.
You do have to talk about your next meeting.
Meeting
Always
date.
the worst
Yes,
topic.
yes. All right.
Do you want me to give it suggestions?
Yes, please.
I don't know if I want to do that for a July meeting because it's notoriously, I can't even talk anymore, difficult to schedule in July and August
Yep.
for the board.
Who's going to be away? Who's going to be here? Right. Who can get
Yeah,
this
maybe,
meeting?
can we
Can't.
start with availability? Is anybody gone and can't?
I'm gone from the 23rd on.
Okay, so I think we should do it before then, if that's okay.
What about the 16th?
That's a Tuesday.
Want to do it on the 15th?
We can do it on a Tuesday, that's okay. I'm just pointing out that it is
Well, how about the
So
16th,
Are
everybody?
we back to 11 o'clock meetings in general? So
Yes, I think
Are we
so.
good with 11 o'clock? Because that generally that works for Jane as well. The only thing I'd like to do is tentatively confirm with all of you and then reach out to Jane to make sure that she can attend. Because I know she really wanted to be at this meeting and couldn't. And just her availability in June was limited.
Was
So.
dicey. Okay, so 15 or 16 works for me.
Okay, so let's start with those dates, and if those
Right.
don't work, I can circle back with the rest of the board. Is that okay?
And
You wanna
Mary,
look
you're,
at the-
you're
I
good
was
on
gonna say, do you
that
want to look at August 1st as well to put it in beforehand?
before something happens, right?
Oh,
Mary? You're
muted,
you're
Mary.
muted. Yeah, we all do that all the time. It's really bad.
Sorry.
when the camera's on.
I just wanted to ask about Ryan. Did you want board representation on the 23rd for your site meeting?
Oh, it's not required. It's up to you, really.
Is
We're
it
gonna
helpful?
meet. we're gonna meet before this, so let me ask Andrea. Let me talk to Andrea about it.
Okay.
I think she said that some libraries do have board members there and some don't. I would just say, I feel like we're all in this together. I feel like all of you really contributed to the plan. So just if people are available, I don't think it's a bad idea because not all of you have met. I know David has attended legislative breakfast with me and he's met Andrea before. And I don't know if Marguerite has. I don't know if the rest of you have.
I think I met her a
So
long time ago.
you
Yeah.
might have at like a trustees orientation when she first got hired, like years and years ago.
Yep.
So
So I just say, I mean, I can make it. And I know that if we have a certain number of people going, you need to post it, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just putting that out there.
Maybe just post it.
Yeah, I'll
Maybe we
post it. I'll post it
Yeah.
and we can always cancel it.
What
Okay.
time is that, please, on the 23rd?
at 11, I believe, but I'm gonna double check the time,
Okay.
David.
Thank you.
And I'll be able to remind everybody at the next meeting. We'll be able to confirm because if we're doing the 15th or the 16th, that's the week before.
Sure.
And
Thank you.
not about August. 12th or 13th again. That's a Monday or Tuesday, 11 o'clock. Zoom.
Those are great.
Okay, probably same thing, yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to pencil those in both in with a question mark, and then we'll wait and see. How's that?
Yeah, I'll reach out to Jane and
Thank
get
you.
her
Appreciate it.
availability,
All right.
and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
It's
Good.
also away from back to school for Mary, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's fine. It's just fine.
First year, no back to school. Yay for me.
I know, that's a big milestone.
It is.
Daughter graduated this year?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, she started working full-time last week, so
What is she gonna do next year?
she's working full-time.
Wow, good for her.
She's happy, so. All right,
Yeah.
guys, stay cool and see you in a
Yes.
little
Thank you,
while.
everyone.
If
Thank
you want to stay
Ryan.
cool, we
Yeah.
can give you some
Come to
time
the
in
children's room at the library.
Yeah,
Right.
Tim's
I know.
office.
The polar
You'll
bear
get real
meeting.
cool real fast. That's our
Uh.
new slogan for the summer, so.
We have to, have a
Motion to adjourn the meeting. Do we have a second?
Okay.
All right. Those in favor, Landry, aye.
Yes, Donnie, I.
Eckberg, aye.
Tinty eye.
Maybe I.
I think that's it. All right.
Perfect.
We are adjourned officially. Thank you, everyone. Another good meeting. Talk to you soon.
Bye.